Vyasa Media Network.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Great. Your Excellency, almost 1 year in Nepal. What is the one word you would use to describe this experience?
Unexpected.
Unexpected, full of surprises?
Absolutely. Every day.
What has been the biggest surprise for you?
There's small surprises, big surprises, every day. I guess the first thing was when I was at the airport, watching people walk past. Nepalis are you can't define a Nepali.
Right.
Or you can define it by diversity.
Right.
And they're beautiful people.
Right.
And I just sat and watched people walking past. That was amazing.
Okay. I read somewhere, and this is long, long ago, that Asia, this part of Asia, feels like somebody's colored it with pastel colors, bright, bold, vibrant, yellows, pinks, oranges. And Europe feels like a water painting, washed out, grays and whites and blues. And for a European to come into this part of the world and be enthralled by that sense of color is absolutely believable. What else did you notice here which you were not expecting maybe in terms of work, in terms of not just the diversity of the people, but work-wise, professionally? Any surprises there?
Not really. I mean, nothing that threw me off. Nothing. I felt very comfortable from day one. It really is, Nepal and the people and the colors and the traffic, very chaotic, and the rain. I didn't expect that much rain. I mean, I've lived in Thailand.
Right.
I know what a monsoon looks
is
like.
yeah.
This is nothing compared to Thailand.
Oh, wow.
It just comes down. So, yeah, things like this.
Right.
And, the way people, don't look at you. You can circulate in the streets normally, comfortably.
Yes.
There's no pointing, there's no staring, there's no, you blend in very easily. That was also a surprise.
I'm actually surprised that you say that because for a lady like you that looks very different visually from most of us, you're taller than most of us, skin is different. For you to say that is actually quite a compliment for Nepal. Because as an Indian, I feel like I fit in here, but I look like a lot of people here, right? As an Indian, I also was surprised by this because you don't feel the same in India, do you? You feel different. Yeah, it feels very safe and comfortable in Nepal.
Yeah.
How did you prepare yourself to come into this country?
I have to reveal a secret.
Okay.
I was here 23 years ago.
I know. You traveled to Nepal, yes.
Very shortly. I must have been here for a week. So I knew the basics.
Right.
But I didn't read the guide. My husband did all the reading for the trekking. I started reading Singa Durbar
Okay.
by Sagar Khanna.
Right.
And that plunged me straight into, the history of the country and the richness and all the conspiracies and the power struggles, and wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I actually, looked for him when I first arrived, and I was delighted to meet him at the Nepal Arts Council.
And that's amazing, actually, to be able to see somebody who's written a book that you love so much. I had a similar experience. There's a book called Seto Bagh. Have you heard about it? The White Tiger.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Similar lines. And that book also taught me a bit about the culture, the people, the mindset of the people in Nepal. And for me, this has been written by Diamond Shamsher Rana. And I thought that I understood a lot about how monarchy has affected this country and the power struggle and the hierarchy and all through that. So I'm glad that you mentioned it and you read this book and you learned something. What is different, according to you, between the way leadership works in Nepal versus in the West?
I would say, I think there are more things in common than differences. And in good leadership.
Right.
And it is when you read, in fact, Diplomat or other books I've read. I've spent my year reading about Nepal, on fiction, non-fiction, on India as well, on Tibet. So Nepal as a country, as a culture, as a history, but also how it fits into its environment. And the great leaders are very often similar. They have a stature, they have something, a charisma that puts them above the fold. And at the same time, there's great humility and ability to listen and ability to connect to people. So I'm actually always a bit nervous about these questions on cultural differences, because what I look for is, in fact, common ground, similarities in cultures. And this is, and I guess this is the case because I come from different cultures. I mean, I have a French mother, a Spanish father, but I was brought up in Brazil, and I've lost count how many countries I've lived in, but quite a few.
Wow.
In Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, and so it comes to a point where you don't look for differences; you look for common ground.
Wow, that's a great way of putting it, actually. What has been the biggest commonality then that you found, the most important commonality across all of these nations in leaders?
Precisely that.
The stature.
That ability, the stature, first of all, and that's almost innate, isn't it? Almost. It is innate. It's an ability, very difficult, like charisma, very difficult to explain. Where does it come from? But I guess, cultivated this ability to be close to people. When I've always heard that. When Clinton, but that's the example that comes to mind, used to talk to people. People said that you felt the only person in the world he was talking to.
Wow.
And so this is something, to a certain degree, I think, that can be cultivated. The ability to give to and you have to be very aware, very conscious of what you're doing, but the ability of honing in on a person, sometimes on a crowd, and be completely dedicated to that, to be able to connect.
Wow, that's a great thought, actually, because the ability to make somebody feel seen in a way, valued.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I think that is something that a lot more people possibly could or would need to work on. And that is something that I see a lot in your leadership as well, because I have seen you at work, at the EUD, at the office. I've seen you interact with people around you. And I've seen how you have this simple grace about you, and you're sitting doing your thing, but you're also in charge. You're also the one that's making the right decisions, that's doing all the work, but you're so easy to talk to. Have you cultivated this? Have you worked toward this? Or is this just who you are?
Yeah, that's some things I've developed over time. Age comes with a certain number of advantages as well. you get this maturity and more poise in a way. But so the lack of the very flat hierarchy, which is what I believe in, I think comes from my upbringing. My mother, my grandmother, they were very. My grandmother was a very simple, French woman from a worker's background. The family used to work in a textile factory. So she was, a very humble person who finished her studies at 12, and she was really put down by many people, by in her family, in the houses where she worked, and that gave her a resentment in a way. But at the same, and what she passed on from that to my mother, and therefore to me, is this very clear message that you're not above others. Everybody's important. You have to respect even the last humble person.
Wow. And I've seen this humility in action. Do you remember a particular incident when we were together at Solti? And this was the second day of the EU-Nepal Business Forum. And you had a little bag. And you were the main person there. You were the host. You were actually welcoming people in. And you had a bag with a laptop. And somebody came and asked you, "Ma'am, may I keep that away? May I carry that?" You're like, "No, it's my laptop. I'll carry it. No problem." And I was amazed. And I was like, oh, okay, really? I mean, she is the ambassador of the EU in Nepal. And she's comfortable and chill carrying her own laptop. But that also made me realize that there's this A, sense of humility, B, sense of no distance between other people and you. There's this approachability as well, which I thought was super endearing, which is what I would love to imbibe and I would love to see in more people around here. I think this is something that maybe you got from your grandmother, but it makes you such an endearing person and really helps you stick out in a crowd. When the ambassador is carrying a little bag and walking around talking to people, how do you genuinely put in the effort to remember names of people because you're good at this?
I do. I have a problem. I remember names. I don't remember faces.
How does that work? You have a name and it's floating.
I get people mixed up, but I'm better with names.
Wow, that's wonderful because I've always seen you approaching people, speaking to people, thanking people, making people feel included, making people feel seen. I remember after the business forum as well, you were there thanking everybody. You stayed back, thanked everybody. You came and gave me a minor heart attack as well. I'm not sure if you remember that, but you came and gave me a minor heart attack.
You did an amazing job.
For the nicest reason, yes, but you scared me there. But just the fact that you would put in this effort to make people seen, I thought, was extremely endearing and not something that we see so commonly. Which again brings me to the fact that what is it that I understand stature, I understand humility. What is the 3 things that leaders need to learn?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, skills they need to learn. If I were to be a leader, if I wanted to be a leader, if a young girl there wants to be a leader, what skills would she need to learn? Not the innate qualities, but the skills that she would want to build on. Remembering names would be one for me. No, but let's hear it from you.
Before I say that, let me say that, for a young girl who wants to become a leader, and people have, it's not just applicable to women. I think it's overall. You have to really want to be a good leader. It's not. I don't say it's not. It's important because some people want to be a leader for the wrong reasons, to have power or to have money or to have influence or to have whatever. A leader is someone who wants to make a change together with a group, whether it's a small team of 10 people, 5 people, or whether it's a nation. It is this. So the first thing is to have a clear objective, and I think people who have a go for the wrong reasons will never get there. So it's this thing about authenticity. That's the first, and it's not. It needs to be defined. You need to, in order to do that, you need to have sufficient awareness, self-awareness, to actually work out what you really want. The skills you have to have, I think you can learn to listen. That's a very important. I mean, that's kind of, everybody says that in management books, but it's true. It's and again, it's about this connection. It's about considering the other person, connecting to the other person, being interested in the other person. So listening, it really is the first. It's amazing what you learn from people when you allow them to come out, to speak, to talk about their ambitions and their dreams. So the listening is important. Second set of skills, I don't know. I mean, another big concept, of course, is to be humble. Is the humility. Can you learn it? I don't know. You can make an effort.
You can make an effort. I like that. What has been your biggest setback / failure / lesson as a leader?
I've had failures in my career, jobs I didn't get, or as a leader. You see, the problem is I have a problem with the word leader. I didn't set out to be a leader at all. I mean, I was a woman professional trying to do my job and
doing your job and doing your thing.
Everybody else to do theirs.
Okay. What has been a setback that you faced in trying to get people do their little bit?
Sometimes there's no doubt you have difficulties. Not everybody is, hunky dory, and not everybody follows instructions, and not everybody can work in a team. So when you get a person who is, that's happened to me some time ago, when you get a person who is an individualist, who's unable to share information and to work with others, then it throws a spanner in the wheels of the way a team works. And you can have a team that's 20 people strong. You need one person to kind of, make things not run so well. Yeah. So that's it's happened to me, and despite my best efforts, I didn't manage to turn that person around. I think because that person didn't, he or she wasn't fit for that particular job. That's often the case. I notice in teams when I have difficulties, I always try to look at perhaps if I can change people around or change profiles around, tasks around. Because it very often means that people are not comfortable with what they're doing. And they're not, if you don't like what you're doing, if you're not comfortable with what you're doing, you're not good at it. And I've had a couple of, successes where I've managed to change job descriptions around, and that made a huge difference because it allowed the person to blossom. To me, that's also what a leader is. A team leader is to allow the person to really expand and to be fulfilled in what they do.
Right.
In a bureaucracy, it has its limitations. You can't, it's not a private company. I can't change people around, but you can adjust.
You can adjust. So you very interestingly spoke about two things, which are very fascinating for me. One is culture. Somebody just does not have the culture, does not have that innate value to want to share information, doesn't want to work in a team, is very individualistic. And you spoke about job ability fit and about how sometimes somebody is not the right person for the right job and doesn't feel as passionately about what they do. But once you give them a little nudge, they're right and they're good to go. What do you think brings this amount of passion into what you do?
I think that's totally innate.
It's totally innate. So you were born for this. Like you knew you're going to be doing this cool thing.
I had no idea.
You had no idea, but it's innate. It was just in you. Because I see you radiating this positivity and this energy and speaking to people and literally like hugging people. And you do this with so much of effortless poise all the time. So you were born for this. This is innate.
I was born with passion.
Yes.
Whatever I've done.
Right.
And in fact, the most difficult years of my life was when I finished university and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Did you also go through that?
Oh, gosh. It was awful. I got a job. I didn't really like it. I got another one, was the same. And I thought, oh, my God, is this working life?
This is the most relatable thing I've ever heard anybody in your position say, that you didn't like your first job, you were not sure about what to do, because students have this concern all the time. And I think this is going to be the clip that goes out on social media. Even Her Excellency Veronique Lorenzo was confused, so it's normal.
It's normal.
Oh my God.
It's normal. And I looked, and I have this thing that I've always told my daughter, actually. If you really want something, it will happen. I don't know in what shape or form, but it will happen. You need to have that conviction, that inner conviction. And I wanted to find something I would be passionate about. I said, I cannot work without that sense of purpose, without that passion. And somewhere along the lines, along the road, I got interested in agriculture, in tropical agriculture, and I decided to do a master's.
Agricultural economics.
Agricultural economics, and I never looked back.
Did you love it?
I loved it. And then I got a job. Then I got my first job in Mozambique, and that was it. I had found my way. I had found my purpose, and it wasn't about, leadership or anything or team. I was like, no, it was to be passionate about what I do. And second, I think most importantly, and that's still the principle I apply, to learn every day. And still now, oh my God, I'm so happy because I learn every day. Nepal has given me that. There's so much to learn.
Has the ability to teach things every single day, doesn't it? I love that you said that, the ability to learn every day, because this was something I was writing about a few weeks ago, interestingly. Again, student of economics, works in a bank, great position. He came for coaching. And what I found different between him and all the other people that I was working with is that he asked me the most number of questions and the smartest questions, but the most number of questions, unapologetically and unashamed. And then he tells me, ma'am, you're not angry. I said, why would I be angry? I love it that you ask me questions. Ma'am, I just want to learn. I said, of course. And for you to reiterate that, even at this level, for somebody like you to say, okay, willing to learn every day, was willing to learn then, willing to learn now. And I think that's amazing. What is the last thing, the most important thing that you've learned recently?
What is the most important?
It could be a new recipe. It could be anything.
What did I learn recently? Don't know. You caught me there.
A new word.
No, don't quiz me on that.
Okay,
My Nepali is all gone out of the door.
You know namaste, and that's good enough as a starting point.
Oh, I know a lot more than that.
Okay.
But
we'll get you brownie points for every Nepali word you use today.
My teacher says sunusna.
Hey, sunusna. That's a good one.
I know lots of.
You have a teacher?
Verbs.
Did you constructively decide to learn?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's a fantastic teacher. Because she's, because it's challenging. So there are lots of games, translations, and games. And I'm learning with my husband. So she will put pieces of paper on the table with words in Nepali and say the words in English, and you have to grab the piece.
Ooh. That's a nice game.
I always win.
Ooh, that's great. That's actually a fun way to learn a new language, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
To have somebody learn alongside, somebody you can practice with. So are you also learning the script?
I've learned a few symbols. But
right.
The most important thing to me is to be able to understand a few things.
Right.
To have a basic conversation.
Sunusna. Hazur sunnus na. Hazur. You know Hazur. You know Hazur. You know Namaste. You know sunnus na. That's good enough as a starting point. How important is it for you to communicate meaningfully? Communicate.
Oh, absolutely vital. This is, I think there I do put quite a lot of effort. That's because that's at the core of my job. I represent the European Union. I know that the European Union is not sufficiently well understood by far. And so it is very much my mission to disseminate more, to explain. But the problem, the reason why people don't understand much about the European Union is because it's a very complex construct. Yeah. And we usually use very difficult words to explain it.
I like that honesty.
and so the answer is, well, make it simple. It's the clarity. And so in communication, for me, the most important thing is clarity. I get it that, there are cultural differences and some cultures don't like a direct style too much. Others don't mind it. I think with humility, with it, you need to be clear and simple. That's the only way to connect to people.
To people, yeah. Have you faced any incident where people, because some cultures like a more direct style, like you said, some cultures don't. How do you deal with this cross-cultural difference in communication? And what strategies, if any, do you use to connect better with people in Nepal, since you're working with a lot of people from here?
Well, it depends on the context. If it's a message I have to pass, then I will pass it. Nicely, respectfully. I usually say that. I said, with all due respect, allow me to, and I will deliver my message. I see it when it doesn't go through. There's no answer, or there's a bit of a malaise moment but that's fine. In other cases, if it's in a personal situation or somewhere, then I will not withdraw, but just step back a little bit and change and try to be more round in my expression, because there's no stake, and so I still, there's sometimes I do feel like bumping into I'll give you an example.
Yes.
I was at a meeting the other day. I won't say with whom or where.
No names needed. No names.
But there's this narrative in Nepal. We are very vulnerable to climate change. We are suffering disproportionately. We're not responsible for emissions. We're not responsible for any of this, which is fine, which is true. I mean, Nepal is a victim of climate change. But there are things that can be done.
Yes.
And my approach is, do whatever you are able to do. And there are many things in water pollution, in waste management, in air pollution. And so to someone who was, giving me this narrative, I said, well, that's very interesting, but I guess you'll need to get rid of your plastic bottles.
On the table. Yes.
Silence. And I know it was a bit, direct, and it was, but sometimes change needs a bit of a direct approach.
Yeah. What is your management style like? Direct?
It is.
Yes?
Yes. I think I'm a good listener.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And
I know this, yes.
And I do try to understand where other people are coming from. and how they can contribute, because this is, I guess that's the first thing. My management approach is we're all of us are in this together, and all of you bring a meaningful contribution to the way the team works. Absolutely fundamental. That's the starting point. And individually, yeah, I do listen to people. I try to see, where they're coming from. But I'm also quite tough. We're here to do a job. We're here to deliver results. We're here to work. This is no playground. So this is what you have to deliver.
I find this amazing because I grew up in a very different culture from yours. I'm from India. We were always told, and I'm from a family of 5 girls. So we were always told, be good, be nice, be polite. And the brothers were getting away with a few more things than we were. I don't know if this seems...
Oh, yes.
Oh, is it relatable to you? We were always told, no, be nice. It's okay if they don't do things. You be nice, you be nice. And I think I bought that narrative for a very long time until I realized people were taking me for a bit of a ride. So that balance of being, say, in your feminine energy, still being nice, still being good to people, and still being able to get the job done. This is something that I see a lot of people struggling with. I see a lot of girls struggling with. Because the narrative we've heard growing up versus what we have to do to produce results in the real world don't really match so well. What would you suggest to somebody like me who does go through this sometimes? Had faced it today in the morning. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, promise.
I don't know. Again, to me, I'm an only child. The only girl, and my vision. I think I've been gender blind for a long time, simply because I was brought up by my father, essentially, who kept repeating he came from a family of women, of strong women, and I could do what. So I didn't see any. I did not grow up with that difference. I grew up very, very empowered. I have as much right as anybody else, and only many years later, with hindsight, did I realize some of the problems I had were probably due to the fact that I was a woman. It didn't register initially.
Wow.
That's how. So to me, it's I guess this is a skill you can acquire. You can you can be nice. You can train yourself to be nice, and you can then train yourself to have results. The difficult combination is to be nice, but
be able to deliver the results.
Achieving results.
Right.
Achieving
to have that beautiful sort of middle point in being assertive and being nice and fun to be around at the same time.
And this is what they say about diplomats. Oh, about being a diplomat, you just have to be nice to people. No. That's not the way it works. You have to, deliver the message nicely and respectfully. But the obligation, the objective of a diplomat is to further a certain agenda, certain objectives.
Right.
It's otherwise you're just a wallflower.
Did you go to school which taught you English in school?
No, not at all. I went to French school in Brazil. So I had Portuguese, Spanish, and French.
How many languages do you speak?
Portuguese, Spanish, French, English, and Italian.
Ali Nepali pani? Ali. Yeah. I learned French very interestingly in college. Not organically at all, because that was not possible.
Wrote.
Absolutely. But, fun fact, I got 100 on 100 in college because it was grammar, right? So you just have to, there's no art. It's mechanical.
Yeah.
Woo, chew, things like that. But my college mark sheet could not tabulate 3 digits, so they gave me a 0. So my mark sheet says I got a 0 on 100. But the 1 is gone because they could not tabulate 3 digits. And I was like, I should have made one mistake somewhere and gotten a 99. Yeah, I would be happier with a 99 than a 00. But of course, none of that helps because forgot everything. Went to France a few years ago. The BA s'il vous plaît, the BA s'il vous plaît. I go like that in my head. I'm like, 2 tickets, please. Because it's just different. But I managed to get a cab once, and I'm really proud.
Yeah.
Managed to call a cab at 3 in the night to take us to the airport, took us, dropped us at the right airport, and we're sorted. So,
Oh, amazing.
yeah, see, that's big, no?
Especially in Paris.
In Paris, from my hostel to the airport, 3 in the morning, managed to get a cab. So that's the height of my French knowledge at this point. Okay, so I wanted to ask you next, what are some of the very important initiatives that the EU is participating in Nepal?
So we've been, well, you know that.
I know
we've
some.
celebrated
Yes.
our 50 years of friendship. I prefer to say friendship than diplomatic relations.
Relations, yeah.
It's simpler, it's clearer. And we have a substantive development assistance portfolio. I would say the most important sector we've supported for many years, for over 25 years, is education, basic education, and it has. I mean, it's gone. When you look at the figures, the access has increased immensely, especially girls' access to education. So that's a result that is not due to us, but due to we've supported Nepal in achieving that result. The quality is not there yet. We're still working on that, and so this is still a sector where we'll be investing heavily because this is the future of Nepal, the young people. Today, perhaps the most important investment we have in Nepal is around renewable energy, because it corresponds to Nepal's biggest potential. Not only, I mean, hydropower comes to mind, of course, but not
That's the
only.
first one that
That's the
comes to
first
mind.
one,
Yeah,
big time, and the ambition of the Nepal government is big in the next 10-20 years to develop that potential. But it's not only that. I mean, Nepal has also an enormous solar potential to be developed. And this is for the internal market, so really to connect everyone. But, Nepal is crucial for a regional electricity market. Nepal is the provider for India, for Bangladesh.
Right.
That's an amazing potential that will contribute to Nepal's economy, but also very much to climate change, because India needs big time to reduce its emissions. So does Bangladesh, and this is an obvious and the best way to go. So we are, and as European Union, for us, the Green Deal has gone from being a policy priority to being a political priority, and very much at the core of our priorities. So in every way possible, we encourage the development of this transition of a greener economy. It can be done. We can develop an entire economy on a different foundation. And Nepal is perfect to do that.
Wow, yeah. We've been hearing about this for a very long time, about renewable energy. But like you said, the first thing, and honestly to me, the only thing that came to mind was hydroelectric power. I didn't think of solar energy. But to think that Nepal could actually do that for our internal use, that's actually fabulous. I'm also very intrigued about the things that you do for people that really watch us is things like the Youth Sounding Board, these photo exhibitions, these small projects that are happening, which are really getting two cultures aligned together, getting people work together, making the youth feel more included. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And that's we do, of course, the mainstay of our relations is the government-to-government relation, is the investment and the support we provide to Nepal. But also extremely important is our relation with civil society, with the private sector, with media. And in that range of stakeholders, for us, the absolute priority is the youth. Because again, it's also linked to education, but this is the future of the country.
Right.
And we've tried to develop very much the people-to-people relations. And one great initiative, and we're on the 3rd edition, is the Youth Sounding Board. And
Right.
this is a scheme where we select 30 young people this year. This is the third edition, from all over Nepal. Previously, we were limited to the 3 provinces where we focus our interventions, but this time we opened it up. And we bring in these young people. They're actually in their induction right now.
I know.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes.
And this evening this afternoon we have a reception at the residence to introduce them to other ambassadors, heads of agencies, allow them to network.
For which I'm invited, by the way, and I'm coming.
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. So we'll see you again.
Absolutely.
But the point of having this youth sounding board, as the name indicates, is to have feedback from them. And I was really, when I came, I didn't know this concept before I came to Nepal. And on day 2 or 3, I met the youth sounding board. Okay, nice, let's have a conversation with young people. I was blown away by how articulate they were, how they were able to express, they were substantive, they were able to express their priorities, they knew where they were going. And I thought, this is what gives direction. And so we keep them for this cohort, we'll keep them for a year, and we'll involve them in meetings we have, in missions we do, in project visits, in becoming a little bit our ambassadors in Nepal.
For their communities. And
it's a two-way thing, because at the same time, they go out there and talk about the European Union, but they also bring back what the concerns, what the priorities, what the new ideas are from young people. And it's incredibly enriching. It's like we were talking about direct, you need to be direct to enact change. It's a little bit the same. Some people in some meetings where you have a very strict hierarchy, they're a bit surprised to see these young people speak up.
with so much clarity.
Speak up at all.
In the first place, yes. Perhaps. Because this is something we're not very used to in this part of the world. I haven't seen it so much. But I was at the EU-Nepal Business Forum, and 3 or 4 little girls, but I did not realize how not little they were and how smart they were. They came and spoke to me, and they said something, and we have a question for the next panel. Can we post it? And I was like, of course you may. And for them to actually have the courage to come and ask to talk about it, I thought that was amazing. Again, that feeling of inclusivity, that feeling of being heard was fabulous. And you don't see that very often, for these young children to come out there and to share. And I think that's a fabulous opportunity. And the reason I wanted to highlight it is because a lot of the people that really watch this particular podcast would fit into that age category and would possibly be interested in participating in things like this. Also, the photo exhibition that's going on, that I think is amazing. Initiatives like this really make people feel connected, amazing for brand building, amazing for people to know, for lay people to us, like us to understand from the civil society what is happening. Would you also like to tell me a bit about the business forums that you do? How we get investment and just anything at all.
So the business forum comes from a very basic idea that this country needs more investment. It needs investment to grow, but above all, it needs investment to create employment and to try and stem this massive outflow of young people migrating to seek opportunities outside. I don't believe that you can prevent young people from seeking a better life outside, but you can try and create the conditions for them to want to stay or to return. Yeah, and so that's the basic rationale. And we have a number of events, of initiatives, and among them is the Nepal Business Forum, where we bring in this. So this year we had 60 European Union companies from the European Union, most of them already active in the region, very often based in Delhi, to come and look at the potential in Nepal. And there is huge potential. There's potential in renewable energies, there's potential in ICT, there's potential. We also had sessions on tourism. On high-end tourism, yes, and agriculture, but looking at agriculture in a slightly different way. Again, high added value supply chains. And these are and very often people from outside don't know because they are too busy with India, they're too busy with other markets. There are true opportunities in Nepal. It needs to be realized, and it also needs the government to provide a conducive environment for these companies, for this private sector companies to come and invest, because we can, come and show them, right, but we can't force them to invest.
Right.
They will take. But I think it's been, a good initiative. Lots of questions, a lot of interest, and we'll repeat that. We'll make it a feature, an annual feature. Also, probably with other activities on each side, so missions to Europe and missions from Europe, to repeat the message.
I like how we're looking at creating an enabling environment where people, stakeholders, come together and start conversations at least. And I think that was wonderful for me to see the kind of initiative you took, how personally you were involved in curating every session, making sure that things worked well, and making sure that everybody felt like they were heard and everyone felt like they had a takeaway from the business forum. I think that was a wonderful, wonderful initiative that was done on a very large scale, I would say. We had so many visiting ambassadors.
And you remember what the most successful sessions were?
The tourism one was very successful. I remember the one on
the startups.
Energy.
And the
startups.
Young entrepreneurs.
Yes, the startups. Oh, yes, of course I remember the session. Yes. The startups one was very, very well received by the audience, in fact. And there was so much interaction. And I remember there was a time when I had to signal stop. We can't, So, yes, absolutely. It was very nice to see all of that. And it's very nice to see the kind of personal interest you take in promoting Nepal and getting people from India to come here. Okay, ambassadors come in, see what this country has to offer. And that was actually very, very new and enriching for us. So, you're passionate about Nepal. What have you learned from Nepal? Your 1 year, apart from Nepali words. Sunnus na, ल, हजुर,
दिनुस् न,
दिनुस् न, सुन्नुस् न, दिनुस् न, खानुस् न,
पिउनुस्.
Oh, okay. Good. A lot of, okay. Okay.
And so it goes. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
What have I learned? I've learned a lot. As I said, I plunged into it and read quite a bit, and we traveled quite a bit. And I'm going to say something everybody says, but it's true. It's amazing the cultural diversity this country has. I think, you need to, you kind of open, unbundle a box, and there's another box, and there's another box. So it's extremely, there was actually one ex-ambassador who said, Nepal is like an onion, when you think you've understood something, you realize you've just come to the next layer.
And you keep unfolding.
Absolutely true. It's a very complex society, culture, history. I get lost every time I try to remember the names of different gods and the different incarnations, but I keep trying. But it's fascinating. It's just, you can just lose yourself in that wealth of culture, of course accumulated over hundreds of years, but it's so rich and so different. It's another world. Nepal is really, for me, is another world that's been kept closed for a very long time. That's now opening up, and that has so much to offer. And I would say as well, the literature. The literature is very interesting because it's as I read. I mean, the books I've read, like Canali Blues, like Buddha's Orphans, is the rhythm of the book just takes you. It looks at different things that a Western writer would look at. Just as fascinating and page turning,
right?
But it has a different feel to it. Very, very Nepali, and I appreciate it even more, being here, because I can see what they're writing. For me, it's very. I always, whenever I read, I always have these images in my mind.
You can visualize exactly what was happening, like a film. You watch,
Like a film.
You watch it like a film. Yeah. Wow, that's actually wonderful, and it's very nice when you talk about how Nepal is like an onion, and there's layers, and we're just beginning to unfold and unravel the mysteries inside. Because when I came from outside, I realized that people would walk through Basantapur looking into their phones. And I used to walk through Basantapur looking and trying to absorb everything in. And then I realized there's so many people here that are desensitized to the beauty that they have all around them. And they're just walking through these fabulous old buildings, these historic buildings, this architecture, these pillars, these, what a hiti is, where the water comes out, the water spouts, yeah? So people just, I'm like, oh, look at that, that's beautiful. Yeah, okay, we're on our phones. And I think you've had a similar kind of an experience where everything's so beautiful because it's not something we've grown up seeing. And for us to actually see this every day is like, wow, there's a new thing, there's a new building, this is beautiful. And people here seem to have lost that. And sometimes it takes people from outside to maybe come and say, look at this is brilliant, this is beautiful. People here are so...
But they're also very passionate people here. So we've done a couple of, guided tours.
Yes, yeah. I was going to come to that, of course.
In Patan, in Basantapur.
Yeah.
And this passion is contagious, because they're so knowledgeable, and they explain the thousands of years of history with so much knowledge and passion that we decided to fund the documentary Ajima and the Six Genders.
Yes,
that was the guided tour by Sunil Babu Pant. And I thought, surely we can't be the only beneficiaries of this.
People need to know.
People need to know. Yeah. It needs to be available to more people. Even the little stones and the little the monuments. They are everywhere. Everywhere. Sometimes over 1,000 years old.
Yeah. And sometimes hidden. Sometimes we don't even know they exist, and there's such fabulous, fascinating stories. And I really wanted to personally thank you for actually being a part of this, because it's so important that somebody takes the initiative to preserve this amount of history. Otherwise, this information, this knowledge is going to be lost. And I was so grateful to hear that the EU had actually contributed, put in the thought, the energy, the effort, even the funds into making that film happen. I thought for me, it was like, okay, finally we have something to show, something that we can show outsiders, people who are not here physically in Nepal, would also be able to understand maybe a little teeny tiny bit of our history. So that was amazing. So 1 year in Nepal, has it changed you in any way? You've learned a lot, but has it changed you?
There's one change out of 50?
3 changes out of 50.
I think one grows also, it's a combination of age and experience. But one grows in awareness. I feel I'm even more attentive to people, to things. With age, I feel my capacity to enjoy grows by the day. And when you say, I welcome everyone, that's because I really enjoy. I enjoy this job. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the settings. There's a lot of love in what I do.
What's your hope for Nepal? Biggest hope?
My biggest hope is that it realizes its potential.
Great point. Yeah.
It's, this country has such amazing young people. From the Usani, but we fund also a number of small of NGOs, of local initiatives on plastic recycling, on innovation, and there's also the entrepreneurs, younger entrepreneurs. They're amazing. They have so many ideas, so much energy. Whenever I'm feeling a bit down, I'll go and see one of them.
Wow.
And this is, but I know that at the same time they function in a difficult environment, unstable, not where everybody, all the young people many of the young people seem to want to get out. So my greatest wish for Nepal is that they manage this turnaround, that there's a critical mass of these young people, of these young entrepreneurs to pull this country forward.
What do you think is the competitive advantage Nepal would have? Or what is the one thing that we can bring to the world? What is the one role that we can play? What could we export to the world in terms of not just, say, electricity or not just power, but thought, knowledge, information? Is there something of that sort? What role could we play?
Well, Nepal has, we talk about this often, but the democratic space that Nepal has is unusual. Increasingly unusual for the region and for the world in these difficult days. That is something Nepal cannot lose and needs to leverage more. The space, the way we speak incredibly freely, the way the media is able to express itself. There's many countries I've worked in would never allow this kind of freedom of expression. You can't lose sight of that. This is a very, very important, valuable value.
I'm actually amazed to hear this. I want to know more. And that's because the freedom of expression that we have here, we take it for granted, of course. And that's your point. But do you think, and you've worked in so many different cultures and countries across the world, do you feel that you are much better off than many others?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. No doubt about it. And the democracy as well, and the rule of law. Yes,
Right.
You can always criticize, and there's political instability, and there's weak institutions, but compare, take a step back and compare Nepal to other countries, and it's managed to develop, from the 50s, when the first attempt and then it opened a little bit, it closed again, it opened. It's so, effectively from the early 90s. The space achieved, the democratic, not call it democracy outright, but the democratic space it achieved is remarkable for that period of time. And that's something that needs to be protected, championed, furthered, shown to other countries. That's certainly something that Nepal can leverage.
This is the most fresh perspective I've heard on this in a very long time. And I'm optimistic because coming from you, I would trust it, of course, because it comes from a credible source. But it's also from a source that's a very valuable source that understands this better than most other people. And this is something, I apologize, I've also not understood the value of. And for me, this is like an eye-opener to hear you say that the freedom of speech and the democracy and whatever we've created in a very short span of time, from, let's say, the 80s, 90s, to now is actually quite commendable. And for me to hear that from you, it's amazing, because now this is something I'm going to read up on. You know what I mean? This is one of those things I'm going to think about and read up a bit on, because I see a lot of people take a lot of pride in criticizing institutions and criticizing the country, sometimes without enough knowledge. But for you to say that then encourages me to go and read up a bit more and to have the right sort of point of view and to be stronger in the analysis I put in before I put an opinion out there. This is amazing. This is, again, super fascinating for me to hear coming from you. Personal highlights. Your favorite memory from Nepal? 1 year. Favorite memory.
My favorite, absolute favorite.
Absolute
There are
favorite.
Few.
I want number 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2.
Well, the thing that will always stay in my mind is not from this year, is from 23 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
And there was a concert in Patan,
Okay.
in the Patan Museum,
Mhm.
and I still have, in my memory, the percussion. It was an amazing concert, and that was my view of Nepal was tinged by this memory. Beautiful, absolutely. So the music, I love the music.
The music.
Whenever I can, I try to go to a concert and to listen to music.
Do you remember which band that was? The percussion?
No.
Do you
that
remember
was
the name?
23 years ago.
Also an unfamiliar name, maybe. An unfamiliar word, maybe. There's a couple of bands that do a great job here. There's one called Kutumba. It's my personal favorite. Again, percussion, beautiful, lively. And you can dance to the percussion.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those that just really gets the crowd activated. Okay. Another quick question. Your favorite food in Nepal?
My favorite food.
And if you don't say momo,
No, it's not.
It's not?
It's not. No.
Okay.
You know what? I love Newa food.
Okay.
I love all the inners, the lungs and liver and brain and
The brain.
I'll stop there.
Yeah. I'm a vegetarian. I've never tried any of that. I have no idea what you're talking about at this point, but I do understand that it's really, really popular. Really popular. And not momo. We're actually disappointed at this point.
No. I mean, yeah, I like momos, but they're not my favorite.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
this is very, the Newa food is very special.
Wow. Okay, great. Now there's a quick rapid fire round. And I'm going to ask you 4-5 questions, super duper fast, and you don't get any time to think at all.
All right.
Are we ready?
I'm not very good at that, but okay.
Make it rapid, maybe not fiery. You have a choice. Either you make it rapid or you make it fiery. Okay, so name a book or a resource that really affected your leadership style, because we wanted to learn about you as a female leader, as somebody that's doing such a wonderful job in another country. What book affected you?
So I'll make a confession. I'm not great on management books.
Okay.
That's not...
Autobiographies?
But there is one book I really, for me, was an eye-opener. And it's called True North by Bill George, who's a Harvard professor. And it talks about, it's a course I followed, actually, because you always... when I started to have teams and to manage teams and, be called a leader, and it's like, oh, okay, whoa, what do I need to do to become a leader? And what are the things, where are the secrets I need to find out? And this whole training was about authentic leadership. They're not things you have to, pick from other places. Your true leadership is within you. So you need to go in, discover what your values are, what really drives you. We go back to the beginning of our conversation. And this is what will guide the style of your leadership.
Okay, nice. Describe your leadership style in 3 words.
Trust. Space for people, for my team members, and accountability.
Okay.
And the two go together.
The trust and the accountability would go, and as well as
And the
space,
space.
everything would go together. Yeah. It's a complete package then.
Mm-hmm.
How do you unwind or relax after a difficult day, high pressure situation, something stressful? How do you relax? How do you unwind?
Oh,
Nepali class?
I go.
No,
No, because it's really, it takes a lot of
Yes.
attention, and again, with age it gets worse. No, I go home to my husband, and I'll unwind with a glass of champagne or margarita.
Okay, champagne or margarita. Okay. What common misconception do people have about leadership that you would like to change and correct?
Well, that leadership is not about telling. It's about listening, and it's about showing. I mean, I believe a lot in the
Leading by example.
Leading by example.
Okay. Final question. What is one thing you think people should understand a bit more about your role as a foreign diplomat in Nepal? What do we misunderstand about you?
Well, perhaps not misunderstand, but a lot of people come up to me and say, "Oh, you should, tell the government to do this and that and that." And I'm like, there's a fine line between. So that there's this compromise. There's a fine line between pushing issues, and yes, of course, we're here to promote certain issues, to encourage the government as well, to advocate with government, like we did for to provide a better investment environment. But there's a fine line between that and being, told you're interfering. And as a foreigner, we need to always be extremely careful not to interfere. So I'm happy to advocate, to provide advice, but I'm always very, very conscious we are not a substitute to the government. We come in support, and ultimately the decision is a Nepali decision.
Okay, final. 5 Nepali words apart from sunnusna, kanusna, pyunusna. 5 Nepali words for brownie points.
Hakim.
Hakim. That's the first word you thought of? Hakim?
Yes.
Okay.
Chori.
Huh?
Chori.
Chori?
Chori. I have one.
Chori.
Chori.
No. Oh, you said chori. Chori means to steal.
Ah. Okay.
And chori means daughter.
Daughter.
So okay, chori. You said
Chori. What's the difference again?
chori. Chori.
Yeah,
with the
I didn't
double
get that.
H.
Okay.
So if you were to write chori, that's steal, you would write CHORI in English. But if you were to write chori, you would write CHHORI.
Okay, so I'll be careful now. Chori.
Right? You could say that. I'm impressed. Okay, chori. Okay, so Hakim, chori, all the people in your life.
Yeah. What else? Bahira.
Okay, that's a good word to know. That's an important word.
Bahira and Bitra.
Okay, Bairo, Bitra, but that's counted as one. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, sorry. My rules. Bairo, Bitra, Sange Bhayo. Okay.
Agadi.
Oh, okay, that's a good word. Okay, do you know the meaning of the word? Pani.
Pani.
Oh, pani. Okay.
And it's always difficult with poni and pani. It's not easy for us to hear the difference.
Okay, pani and pani. Okay, but you know pani. Okay, but I'm still waiting for a 5th word. I'm not counting pani either.
Oh, okay. Dude.
If not pani, doodh. Okay, works. Latte. Like that. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's been such a pleasure. We've laughed through Nepali, through all the fun words, from Hakim. Why would you think of Hakim first? I need to understand this.
Must be
a lot of Hakims that you work with. Hakim is the first Nepali word So from Hakim to Pani, to understanding the role of the EU in Nepal, to understanding how we must look at our own rights in this country. We must look at our own democracy, our own media, with a bit more, for lack of a better word, with a bit more respect, with a bit more understanding of how things are easy and comfortable and tolerant for us. And from all of this to understanding leadership, your style of communication, to understanding how you manage to create these safe spaces where people can come and share, and how you manage to create these spaces for people to feel included, and how you're just so humble, gracious, and gentle all the time. This has been a fabulous, fabulous conversation for me. I've learned so much. I know I'm going to go back and read a couple of things. The book that you spoke about, True North, but I'm also going to try and find out a lot more about the history and the politics in Nepal, just to understand how sometimes we take things for granted, but maybe we can be a bit more accommodating and understand things from a different perspective. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Your Excellency. As always, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. For me today, this has been an honor, and I'm so grateful I had a chance to have this conversation. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure indeed, and we laughed.
We
and
laughed.
these, I think it's the casque. How do you say that? The headphones.
Oh.
Yeah, they put you in a bubble, and you can
because there could be a war happening outside and we would have no idea and we'd still be laughing through it. Yes, unfortunately. But this is beautiful. And this just makes everything so intimate.
Yeah, it does.
It does, right? So we can hear each other just through all of that noise. No noise, we cut through that. And it's wonderful to get this opportunity. And I'm going to cherish this, I promise, for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Vyasa Media Network.